of the world. Welcome. You've landed on the Daily Objective from the Ayn Rand Center UK. Delighted you're with us from wherever you are. Maybe you're from jolly old England, maybe not. Maybe you're from America, anywhere in the Americas. We are a resource of students of objectivism from literally all over the world getting together each and every day. It's like our daily philosophy posse session where we talk about issues of the day, relate, of course, issues of Ms. Rand's philosophy of objectivism, talk to some of the biggest stars and voices of the objectivist movement. Every week we've got people like Dr. Peikoff, James Valiant, Don Watkins, so many more for you every day. And we do it for you free of charge. Well, I shouldn't say that. We're offering a trade. You know, we're all about the trader principle here. So we're bringing you original programming inspired by objectivism. I believe history's largest network of daily original programming inspired, once again, by objectivism. We bring it to you every day. You can check it out on your podcast app. You can check it out on YouTube. And we're asking you to just show us a little bit of love in terms of a trade. Become a member like John. He is a brand new member for the Ayn Rand Center UK. Thank you, John, for being a member. Thank you, Robert, for being a member of our philosophy posse and a contributor as well. So we've got a great presentation for you today. I hope that maybe after checking out some of our archives as well, you want to be a participant and a member of our philosophy posse. As always, want to make the point that this is not objectivism. We are students of objectivism. This is our own interpretation, my own interpretation of objectivism. But I thought we'd talk about something, well, you know, perhaps a little bit lighter today, and that is sport. In particular, one sport, ice hockey. It's a sport that I played as a kid and pretty familiar with this, as I said, as a kid. Really enjoyed it and played it as a kid and always really enjoyed the sport. It's this fascinating mix of athleticism, pool in a weird way in terms of mathematics and knowledge of angles and teamwork, and of course the skating skills involved with hockey. It's just, it's really, to me, it's always been a fascinating, fun, exciting game. But why isn't it popular? In particular, why isn't professional hockey popular, at least in the United States? Nothing like it's baseball, football, basketball. Why is hockey so unpopular, so consistently unpopular in the United States? Well, let's just think about it. What has hockey got that the rest of these sports maybe doesn't have? Let me just think about that. Why is professional hockey so unpopular? Well, here's one idea, and one reason I would go as far as to say I think the way it's practiced, as I'm going to describe it, is pretty darn immoral. Maybe this has something to do with it. You watch a little bit of professional hockey, and maybe it's not as much as it used to be, but scenes like this in which grown men take their hockey gloves off and are just throwing down, helmets off, like a street fight, are not uncommon. It's, in fact, as we're going to talk about, it's part and parcel of the game. It's an expected part of the game. And as you can see there, all the fans eagerly snapping pictures of these bloodied men staring each other down like some kind of a saloon fight from the 1800s. Faces all bloody, like some kind of a friggin' horror film. Pretty gruesome, pretty grotesque, and really has, when you think about it, nothing to do with the sport of hockey. So what the hell? What exactly is this? What are we to make of this as spectators, maybe as participants, as those interested in sport, often inspired by sport? Well, I went to that esteemed reference, Wikipedia, which in fact has a whole section on fighting in professional sports. Turns out that fighting in professional hockey. Turns out that, quoting now, fighting is an established tradition in North American ice hockey with a long history that involves many levels of amateur and professional play. So for me, as a student of objectivism, this notion of it's a tradition, as it's for some reason being valuable because it's a tradition, and certainly how many times have we heard that, at least in American politics, something's a tradition? You know, Ms. Rand talks quite a bit about as tradition, and this is quoting now from Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal. The plea to preserve tradition as such can appeal only to those who have given up or to those who have never intended to achieve anything in life. It is a plea that appeals to the worst elements in men and rejects the best. And I certainly agree with that, and I agree with that in this context. She says again, the argument that we must respect tradition as such, respect it merely because it is tradition, means that we must accept the values other men have chosen merely because other men have chosen them. And that's what I think of when I think about this. Oh, well, you know, this is a tradition in hockey. And I hear this all the time when I've ever raised this issue about fighting in professional hockey. Hey, you know, this is what it is, a tradition. I say it's a terrible tradition. It's an ugly tradition. But it is, I said, I think it is part of the game. And I think one of the reasons the game isn't popular and will never be popular until this tradition is put to bed. Again, quoting from Wikipedia, fights may be fought by enforcers or goons, players whose role is to fight and intimidate on a given team. It is irrational on its face. Boxing, of which Miss Rand and Dr. Peikoff, if you go to his website, Miss Rand, Dr. Peikoff recounts experiences of Miss Rand and the collective enjoying watching Muhammad Ali fight because of his boxing prowess, but also because of his style, his animation, his rhymes he used to do. But boxing is about boxing. In fact, Dr. Peikoff has talked about it, I believe, protecting your face with your hands in one of his podcasts. Boxing is about boxing. Judo is about judo. It's about doing judo. But hockey, the game is supposed to be about scoring. It's supposed to be about putting the puck in the net. It's not about street warfare. That is not part of the game. And to see it as part of the game, to see it as accepted as part of the game is ugly on its face. It's irrational. It's disgusting. Quoting now from Wikipedia, fights are governed by a system of unwritten rules. Unwritten rules. So they're rules, but they're unwritten, that players, coaches, officials, and the media refer to as the code. Well, if they're rules, they're written down. Someone knows them. Unwritten rules are straight up anarchy. And if you really see what happens whenever these fights throw down, you know, they're playing in hockey, and then all of a sudden someone does something, and now it's on, and everyone throws on their gloves, and everyone just stands, and it's anarchy. It's basically anything goes. And I want to emphasize that the fighting has nothing to do with the game. It's not fighting, and whoever wins the fight then gets the point. It's just fighting. It's just street warfare for no reason, and it's accepted. It's accepted. I think that's what's so ugly. I mean, frankly, how do you explain this to your kids? Oh, yeah, hockey's so great. Oh, yeah, now's the time where these guys just, oh, no, you shouldn't do that, little boy. You shouldn't do that. But it's okay. I mean, it is so disastrous on its face. And in fact, in every other sport, fighting is immediately stopped and the players are thrown out. And they're, in effect, they're kind of shamed. You know, here's a shot from a basketball game. You know, look at this. It's a tiny little ref getting in there. Everyone's like, no, stop this. This is not accepted in basketball. And thankfully, it's not. These people are broken up immediately. They're thrown out, and they're kind of professionally shunned. They're not heroes for fighting on their teams. Same thing, even with, you could say, bench clearing in baseball is maybe a little bit more, but we're talking about mild fisticuffs, which last, it's infrequent, and it lasts for a few moments, and it's quickly broken up. Same thing with football. It seems like you see more and more of it with football, but you know, the refs get in there, and even the other teammates get in there and say, no, fight, you know, break it up, guys. That's not how we do this. In hockey, the refs just stand around. Oh, let's see how this goes. All right, we got about 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see these guys, you know, beat each other up for a while. They just stand around and watch. And, you know, it's I think a degradation of, as I said, I played hockey as a kid. I think it should be a real beautiful game when it's done right. Skating is really beautiful. The angles of hockey are really beautiful. The teamwork of hockey is very beautiful. I mean, if you love basketball, the passing and everything, I mean, hockey is a beautiful game. It should be a beautiful game. It shouldn't be a human cockfight with everyone just standing around filming, hoping that you can get a shot of a guy's head getting hit and the tooth flying out. I mean, this is what's become so popular. People have these fights, and then everyone stands around taking the photos, and then they put it on the internet. And that's pretty friggin' vile. It's a fucking human cockfight. it's gross. I don't approve of it. I think it's immoral. I think it's degenerate. It's debasing of a human thinking rational animal to even participate or be present in something like that. So to pay for it and go to a stadium, I mean, standing around waiting for blood, it's, I think it's degenerate. I think it's really degenerate. Now imagine if this was accepted, forget even other sports. What about even within the world of skating? And imagine if this was accepted in figure skating. Can you imagine these beautiful figure skaters, and then one doesn't like the other one's routine, and then the girls and guys go at it, these skater-taters. I mean, you know, that wouldn't be accepted in figure skating. And in fact, the one time, many of you are probably too young to remember this, but going back many, many years here in the United States, the one time that violence really came into figure skating was something called the Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan affair. I think they made a Netflix documentary about it. Basically, with the girl on the left, the blonde girl, hired a goon to bash Nancy Kerrigan's knee in and hurt her. And that, you know, that would be the equivalent of what happens in professional hockey coming to figure skating. And it's why it seems so bizarre, why it was so shocking. Everyone remembers it because it was shocking, because violence has no place in skating, in hockey or figure skating. But in hockey, that's a normal night. You know, it was so shocking in figure skating. Oh my God, violence. We would never expect that. But why is it in hockey? Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, come on over, kids. Come on, they're gonna get ready to beat each other up. I mean, it's friggin' fucking degenerate. But that's what we do in hockey. Now you're probably saying, what about car wrecks? Here in the United States, Los Estados Unidos, we have a tradition of NASCAR racing. I believe there in the UK, you have the little fancier ones that drive around Le Mans or whatever it's called. Everyone inevitably asks, well, what about car wrecks? Isn't that what we see? You know, we see the finish line, but we also see the car wrecks. Well, yes, car wrecks make the news and they happen, not always, but they happen from time to time, but they're not intentional. In fact, they're dangerous and they're avoided. I mean, people invest millions and millions and millions of dollars in these cars. So no one is out there driving a car, no owner or driver is looking to get into a car wreck. And the audience, you might say, is waiting for it. I mean, there's an old King of the Hill joke about Bobby and Hank waiting for the car wreck at the NASCAR. The audience waits for it though because it's rare. They're waiting to see it because they know it's a rarity to see a wreck. And it's a tragedy, but it's a rarity to see a wreck. You know, it's a risk of the sport, but it's not the sport, as against in professional hockey, when it's literally written into the sport. This is this role, the enforcer, the so-called enforcer in ice hockey. The enforcer, the term is used synonymously with fighter, tough guy, or goon. How would you like that? Oh, Dad, what do you do for the team? Well, I'm the goon. An enforcer's job is to deter and respond to dirty and violent play. The enforcer is expected to respond aggressively by fighting or checking the offender. Thank you, James. James asks, what's my view of boxing? We'll talk about that in just a minute, James. We'll talk about that. Thank you for that, and thank you for your contribution. So there's somebody on the the hockey team, to James's, I think, point, whose job is to be the goon, to be not the boxer in terms of he's trained as a boxer, and but he's the street fighter, the anarchist fighter. And I'm just saying these scenes, that this is cold-blooded men slugging it out. What is the difference between this and this? The street fighting we see in the UK, in the US, and all over the world of these drunken hillbilly losers slugging it out. It's the same thing, and it should be condemned. It is the place of it is in these drunken barroom brawls, not in a professional sport. I want to refer you to Dr. Tara Smith's answer. Well, first of all, Dr. Peikoff does answers a question about this. Is there a good reason to like and follow sport? And he alludes to Dr. Tara Smith's point that sport at its best exhibits rational passion. That's an inspiring reaffirmation of values. Now, is this a reaffirmation of values? No, it's just degenerate barroom human cockfighting, as I said. And I really want to recommend Dr. Smith's Ayn Rand Institute podcast. It's available for free right here on YouTube, called Tara Smith Sport as an Arena for Admiration. This will leave you elevated about sport, about whatever level of sport you participate. It will energize you about the possibilities of sport and what sport brings us and the inspiration it can bring us. So I really recommend that. And a little self-promotion here. I've done 2 previous episodes about sports. One is about competitive eating, why that's not a sport. And another was a lively debate with Nikos about mixed martial arts. And James, to your point, we compared mixed martial arts. I contrasted mixed martial arts, today's so-called MMA, with boxing as presented and related by Dr. Peikoff and Ms. Rand's and the collective's admiration for Muhammad Ali. As I understand it, they were not fans of boxing, but he brought entertainment to that for them. He certainly had prowess with that. And I believe Dr. Peikoff, as I remember, talked about boxing as being protecting your face with your hands. And there's a big difference in my mind between boxing and hockey, of which a part is throw down bare knuckle fist fighting. And there's almost no comparing. Boxing, there's rules, there's gloves, there is a ref there ready to pull them apart. And that is not the case in hockey at all. And it's why that sort of bare knuckle street fighting is degenerate and has no place in any professional sport. And I believe until it's completely stricken from hockey, it will always remain a 4th or 5th tier sport at best, already being bested by soccer in the US, despite years and years of hockey's kind of culture advantage. So thank you for posting in the Ayn Rand, the super chat here, the link to Dr. Smith's lecture. Definitely want to check that out. And also check us out. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. UK. So when you're sitting down to your plate of bangers and mash, a pint, now we all know it's your 3rd or 4th pint already, but it's fine, whatever you're sitting down to. Turn us on, make us part of your media diet every day, because we're here, we're students of objectivism, all learning together. People like James Valiant, people like Robert Nasser in the chat, we're all students of objectivism and learning from each other. So thanks for being part of it. If you sign up now, if you sign up at AynRandCenterUK.org or com, or become a super chat member right now, a YouTube member, you are becoming part of the philosophy posse. You are becoming a student of objectivism. And to tell you, I've been doing this or learning for more than 20 years. The more I learn, the better my life has become. So make philosophy a positive part of your life. Think about how it influences everything. Be like Dr. Peikoff said of Ms. Rand, sitting on the mountain, standing on the mountaintop, looking at all the widest abstractions you can with a good philosophy by your side. So we're here to hopefully make that part of your life and part of your day and doing it together. So like, share, subscribe. We'll see you back here tomorrow at the same time, 6 p.m. UK for the Daily Objective. Till then, Jonathan Hoenig wishing you best premises.